As the 6 soldiers took position around Delius, preparing themselves to attack, the crowd in the background began to scatter, all of them terrified of what seemed to be coming, as the roars of the crowd became overpowering almost every other sound, as thousands of people began to scatter into the city. Thankfully enough, the soldiers seemed to be waiting until they gave some distance. As the crowd scattered, Delius looked to the men surrounding him. "I'm surprised you haven't started already," Delius said, a bit confused. "We're waiting for the people to get clear. Their safety is of the paramount importance. We are soldiers. We fight for our people, not to endanger them," one of them said, stepping just a bit forward. "I hardly expect you to understand." "No, I understand it quite well," Delius replied. "In case you didn't recall, I am the champion of my village, deemed their protector, one who is meant to safeguard them and guide them through the awakening of Hagara, as well as protect them from any other dangers that our world might present. So, in a strange way, our jobs are basically the same. Tell me, if you are so concerned about the well-being of your people, then why fight me at all? It is clear that the current Grand Administrator has stepped beyond her bounds. She has violated numerous laws and is subject to the justice of those laws. As of right now, all of you were simply men following orders. I have no grudge against you and no desire to fight. You have done nothing wrong as of yet. The Grand Administrator has been stripped of all of her rights and privileges, and ordered to step down by the Interplanetary Council and Association. So why, with the danger that she creates for your people, why do you still obey?" "The answer is simple, Delius," one of the men stepped forward, beginning to say. "Because we believe in the Grand Administrator's ideas. Things may seem peaceful here, but it was only at great cost that this peace was achieved. Most of us have been soldiers for decades, and the one thing that we are certain of is that we have always been outmatched by our enemies. Of all of the species that inhabit the system that circulate the grand world, the core, ours has always been the weakest. The other races are stronger than us, possess abilities that we do not possess. We try to stay ahead in terms of technology. This has been our only boon and saving grace. But the other worlds are rapidly beginning to catch up in that category. Our previous wars and conflicts with them have taught them lessons that they continue to take in, developing their own technology to counter ours. We are beginning to lose the only advantage that we possessed. Soon enough, not only will they outpower us physically, possess abilities that we do not have that give them tactical advantage in war, the ability to reach into our minds, physical strength more than 10 times that of anyone of our home world, the ability to rapidly regenerate from injuries, but our only technological edge quickly dwindling away. The playing field is no longer equal. We are at the low end of the totem pole. In the current run of events, eventually one of these worlds will most likely conquer us. For a very long time, we thought our weakness would most likely be the end of us in the end, that the day was fast approaching. But when we truly found out what we were, that we could acquire the strength of the gods themselves, it offered to us a doorway, a passage to tip the scales back in our favor, to protect our people. Not just protect them, but elevate them with the strength that we have acquired from your people. Most specifically, you. Us six alone were able to turn the tide in a war that should have waged for decades, winning it in only a few years. A few short years. We do not simply want the power that you possess, Delius. We need it in order to secure the future for our race. This system has always been rife with conflict. Too many species occupying the same small space, battling for resources. Conflict has been near ever present, each generation simply passing on to a new one. A new conflict in which one world desires the resources of another. Even though we have scattered into the stars in search of them, still we find conflict with each other. Our technology may seem advanced to you, but in respects to all that exists in the rest of the universe, it can still be seen as quite limited. We have great strides to make in terms of catching up with the rest of the universe. And unlike them, our enemies lie right on our back steps, no more than a stone's throw away. Something that most other species do not have the problem of dealing with. But with your strength, even the superior technology of the outside races would pose little threat to us in the end. What we do now is for our entire race's benefit. It is what must be done. Well, yes, that is one perspective. You could most certainly take it. But there is another way, Delius replied. And what way is that? Another of the soldiers said, stepping forward. Are you trying to suggest that you gods would simply give up your strength? Let us have it? Risk your own existence? And hope we don't turn on you? No, of course not, Delius replied. The fact of the matter is that you've already turned on us. But that does not mean that you are beyond salvation. These were simply the acts of greedy few. Our people can of course look past them, should we maintain peace. And what then, Delius? How do you intend to rebalance this situation? What is this other way that you seem so confident of? Well, the answer is fairly simple. We are essentially the same race, after all. Since we are the same race, in all basic senses, the answer should seem obvious. That we do what comes naturally to us. Try to live happy lives, and live them together, in peace and intercommunication, naturally, no different than you live with the people of your own home world. And how exactly would this benefit us? Delius said, sighing deeply. You really don't seem to get it, do you? If peace is reached between our worlds, and we begin to intermingle and communicate, it's only a matter of time before we begin to intermarry as well. It's happened many times with other tribes from my planet. Often a time when tribes grow weak, and they are assailed by more than they can handle, lose great numbers. It is often a course of events that the surviving members of that tribe simply join another, and when they do so, they are welcomed with open arms. We do not shun our fellow villages, and believe it or not, rarely find conflict with each other for any reason. There are far too many other creatures on our world, to be worrying about one another. So, we often survive by sticking together. Your race doesn't seem like an exception to this rule. There are many on my world who unfortunately never find mates, as often at times the numbers between male and female can skew, and these people are left without mates, while others have multiple, having already claimed several. What? One of the men replied. You're telling me that you guys have multiple wives? Well, there is a large differential between the birth rate of males and females on my world, skewing heavily towards females. There are nearly 5 females for every male, so generally, most tend to take at least a few wives before they grow to old age, and have many children. So I suppose an intermingling between our races would most likely result in many offspring, who are a combination of both. It would only be natural, and those children would, of course, wish to protect their homes, both of them, and would most likely be crosses, no longer aging at the decelerated rate that my race grows at, so they would grow up more quickly, like you and your people. Eventually, both my people, as well as the offspring between yours and mine, would walk amongst your world freely. Over time, more and more, with the strength that these new children possess, they could visit the homeworld, my world. As I'm led to believe, our strength comes from being able to absorb the radiation that comes from there. Even if a certain number of generations passed and they lost the ability to develop and produce the radiation themselves, as long as they were strong enough, they could still visit the core world, there gathering the radiation. It would strengthen them just as it does us. Or at least, that's what Miss Asa seems to think. She's a very smart woman, so I trust her, Delia said with a smile.